Welcome to another live edition of Saturday's Warrior. I'm Trevor, and this is Adam. And tonight we'll be breaking down what was pretty much a terrible weekend all across the Big 12 for the most part, starting with BYU's win. That makes it sound like BYU was part of the terrible weekend, and I don't think it was completely, but we'll get into that.
Was it a terrible win, Trevor? Is that what you're saying?
That is not what I'm saying, but we'll get into that. But that's where we're going to start, is talking about BYU. Then we'll get into the rest of the Big 12 as a whole, do kind of our power rankings after week 2. And then we will get into we'll make our picks for this upcoming week. Now, I've gone back and forth on how to title these. I never know, are my power rankings week 2 power rankings because it's based off of through 2 weeks, or is it week 3 because we're now officially in week 3? I don't know what the answer to that is.
We're in week 3. It's week 3 power rankings.
Okay, week 3 power rankings. We're at week 3.
Yep.
That's where they're ranked. All right. So before we get into it, Adam, you and I have yet to do a video since the season has started. The last one we did was with Brian Logan, which really everyone should go check out if you have not yet.
That was awesome.
For the season. It was an experience, to say the least. Almost completely unfiltered Brian Logan. And so it was a good time. But and then just our schedules this weekend. I wasn't able to even watch the entire game live. I missed most of it. And
tell everyone why. Don't be modest, Trevor. Championships don't come every day, okay?
I was running. Well, it's nothing compared to you, but that's what I was going to say, is Adam was going to hop on for me, but things didn't work out because of technical difficulties. But yeah, I was running a Spartan race this weekend, but Adam had to show me up, and he ran a triathlon. And so, and he stayed up for the entire game. So Adam wins this weekend. Are you recovered yet? Are you able to walk normally?
I can walk except for stairs. Stairs are still very much my enemy, but besides that, I'm generally functional.
Yeah. I can understand that. I think that's fair. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah, it'll come back. Feeling will come back to my legs. The
question is, will you do another triathlon?
I don't know. You know, when you're in the run stage and you got like 2 miles left, the answer is no. I'll never do this again. Now that I can breathe again and think about it, my wife's encouraging me to do it, so that's probably an indication that I will at some point do another triathlon. I didn't dislike it. I came in dead last in the swim. Like, of 199 participants, I was 199th in the swim. Like, just lackadaisically swimming along, taking my time. But I tore it up on the bike and the run, made up for lost time. So all in all, it was a really fun experience. I'd probably do it again.
Did you hit your time that you were kind of aiming for?
So it was my first one, and I didn't have a time to aim for. So I went faster than I had ever gone on a 25-mile bike ride, so I thought that was good. And then, like, mile 2 of 6 on the run, my legs were starting to cramp, and I was really mad because I felt like I was going to be moving fast on the run. And that cleared up like mile 5, and I just really I booked it to the end from there. So I finished strong. It felt pretty good.
Good. How long have you been training for it?
I started probably early June, so 3 months.
Okay, nice. All right, well, good for you. I'm tired just thinking about it. So,
and the Spartan race, you took first, right?
Yeah. No, but it was the World Championship, and so we were there when the, and they run earlier in the day, so they get on the course first and everything. So we were there stretching and everything when the world champion came through, and he did the 21K. I think it's 30 obstacles in sub 2 hours. And
wow.
Yeah, it was insane. I would like to say I was close to that, but not quite, just a little bit longer. No, I beat my previous time doing that course by just a couple minutes. So it was good. I felt better and stronger, and I was able to do some of the obstacles I couldn't do in the past that I, specifically, training for to be able to do in this course. And nice. So I chalk it up as a win. Speaking of chalking it up as a win, BYU had a game this weekend. I don't know if you heard about that, but they played Stanford. It wasn't always pretty, but at the end of the day, BYU got what was overall a pretty impressive win when you look at the margin over another P4 school. So, Adam, my question and lead into this was basically the same as what BYU-SN ended up asking as their question of the day. But I had already written this down, so I'm rolling with it anyway. Essentially the same thing. But for you, what is your big takeaway? What do you take away from this game more? Was it the offense and maybe its struggles, or was it the defense being lights out?
It's defense lights out by a country mile. I mean, Stanford's not a good offense. Let's put it that way. Branson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn sometimes. He's just not playing. That's not great quarterback play. I don't know why they don't go with some of their younger talent there and just give them a shot. But regardless, Stanford's not a great offense. But they can run the ball. They are a P4 team. They've got talent. They got size. They got athleticism. It's definitely a stiffer test. And BYU just dominated. I mean, just absolutely dominated. Through 3 quarters, they had like 26 total yards. I mean, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So to me, definitely the takeaway is the defensive dominance, because I think that is what is going to keep you in every game this year. It's going to give you a shot. I don't think BYU is going to go undefeated. I think they will lose some games, but I don't think that somebody's going to go out there and put up 40 points on us. I don't think you're going to have an Oklahoma State game like last year. You'll have some team that hangs a bunch of points on us. Maybe TCU, but I don't see us struggling like that. That defense is incredible. So to me, that's the takeaway. The offense, it was an unsatisfying offensive performance. It really was. But it was unsatisfying because you moved the ball and you were so close to 43-3 instead of 27-3. You got a holding call that was bonkers. You got LJ Martin crossing the goal line when they didn't allow it. You got Kingston dropping a pass. You got Roberts dropping a pass. All of those were 7 points instead of 3. So BYU left a lot of points on the board there, but there are things that are fixable. I think some of the offensive line issues, Hans Olsen was talking about that being more of an issue of the quarterback calling out the right coverage and recognizing the blitz package. And both A-Rod and Kalani came out and they said, look, we weren't prepared for that type of Stanford defense. That's nothing like they've had on film. That's nothing like we prepared for, which happens in game 2 of any season. It's a new defensive coordinator, comes over from Sacramento State. So you're looking at Sac State film, trying to figure out what they're going to do. That's the beginning of the season. So I'm not concerned about the offense right now. As far as I'm concerned, Bachmeier's on track. If you play like this against West Virginia and Arizona, I think there's a problem. I'm not concerned at all that we play this in game 2 and the defense just smothers those guys.
Yeah, obviously, I'm with you that it's the defense for sure. The defense is the story, because we go back to, the preseason, and everyone was saying, he's a freshman, but he's got the high ceiling, and we were excited that it sounded like he won the job. But we all recognize that there's gonna be a learning curve, and it's a good thing that we have the schedule that we have to help kind of ramp him up. I would say our easiest games are 1, 2, and 3, in that order, probably this season. Again, not writing off ECU. We'll get to that. But so I expect to see a little bit of struggle. I think maybe he didn't show all the confidence that he had in that first game. Obviously, this is a little bit different. This is a bit tougher, and it was a good wake-up call for him, I think, Bear, that is. And I do think that he still shows that he has the ability to make a lot of these throws. It's just building that chemistry with the receivers. It's settling down. It's seeing the play set up and being able to make the right read. And those are all things that can come with time. And again, we have another bye week. Then we have another game, which I think, going East Coast, we'll talk about that. That could be difficult, but it is a very winnable game. And so I like that he's still got a little bit more time to kind of settle in and, really develop in those areas where maybe he's struggling the most. However, yes, I agree that it is very unsatisfying because you felt like this team could have done so much more and just, like you said, left points on the table. But I want to pull up here a few tweets, and I just want to go through these real quick because I did think there were I thought some good insights here. First off, this is not so much about the game, but I love Robbie McCombs saying, pointing out the uniforms. These are perfect. We don't need anything else. Couldn't agree more.
The white face mask needs to be substituted for the blue face mask. I'm not a white face mask fan, but besides that, I agree.
Fine. I'm not gonna, make a big fuss either way. As long as we've got that color scheme, the face mask, I think we can debate on, or work with. I don't have strong feelings, I guess. All right. And then Tanner Christensen says, never be sad with a 3-score win, especially over a P4 opponent. And then he's listing some of these other guys who struggled against Troy, Austin PA, Army, USF. Granted, USF looks like they might be pretty good this season.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, case in point, like, you should be pretty happy. The fact that we could look that shaky with a freshman quarterback and leave points on the table and still win by 3 scores, I think really says something. Like the fact that we're in a position to be mad about that, that's really talking about like first world problems, right? Like that's a great position to be in. Let's see here. Jerem Jordan says BYU just beat a P4 opponent by 24, allowing 3 points and 161 yards. And yet there's a bunch of room for improvement. Yes, lots of room for improvement, but I think that's really good to keep that in perspective, that we could have that kind of output and still have it be a disappointing game, I think is all right. Cougar Stats has Bachmeier pass efficiency by half versus Stanford. So first half and second half, I think that's much like in the Portland State game. Is he took a little bit to warm up. It was the first 5 or so throws, and then after that, he really started cooking. So again, I think, which is interesting too, because actually we scored more in the first half, and although I guess we had more opportunities. Either way, disappointing. And then you talked about some blown calls. This was one that I missed live, and it wasn't in the highlights.
That was
second half.
That was bad. It was inconsequential, which is why I think they didn't review it. But boy, it was indicative of that officiating crew. I mean, they didn't review anything. They didn't review the 2-point conversion that looked like it was close. They didn't review the Martin TD that was not a TD. I mean, just a lot of misses.
And actually, I'll get back to these, but I don't want to miss this comment from 1-2. How you doing? Thanks for coming back to the show again and commenting. And that's for everybody watching. Please hop in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live. We'd love to get your feedback, input. But BYU had lots of errant throws and drop passes. Kingston had surprising fumble-itis. And I want to talk about that. All around sloppy offense. Defense was impressive, maybe even more than last year, if that's possible. I think so far, yes. And we think that the ceiling
defense is taking a step forward.
Yeah, and we think that the ceiling is even higher for this defense, that they're going to keep getting better, assuming everyone stays healthy and they're able to keep going.
Well, and we don't even have Justin Kirkland, right? And you didn't have Che Bryant Strowler for that game. I mean, it's a legit Big 12 deep defense.
Yeah, and I think that was one of these tweets was pointing that out. But yeah.
But I don't know that Kingston's fumbleitis was super surprising. He had a phenomenal year last year, but if you'll recall in 23, he had a few of these. He's just a little bit slighter. He's had some ball control issues. He did not last year. Last year was phenomenal. But this has happened.
But I sometimes question his decision making too. Like with Kansas State, that's everyone's favorite play. And yes,
I know
it's one of the most exciting to watch, but I cannot put it as my favorite play because he made so many mistakes in judgment that just happened to work out. And so it's most entertaining play, probably. My favorite play, no. I just can't. And
well, and one of the things I loved about this game was, again, Big 12 depth on special teams. Tiger Bachmeier comes in with a 44-yard punt return. That's your backup punt returner. I mean, your primary dude's fumbling, So accountability, right? He sits down, Tiger gets a shot and takes it 44 yards. I mean, that's what I love about this team is in the past it was like, oh my goodness, don't get injured, right? And now it's you still feel that way. You want your starter in there, but if something happens, you got a dude sitting there ready to come in and play.
And Kelly Papinga said that Tiger Bachmeier's 44-yard punt return, that BYU only had 10 players on the field.
I heard that. Isn't that crazy?
Which makes it even better. Adding insult to injury. So,
yeah,
it's I think I had, let me see here. Just a couple more tweets I want to get through real quick just to highlight this. So BYU's defense, while we're talking about potentially being even better than last year, we look at how they scored out here. And then offense is currently ranked, still not terrible. Pass yards per game, not ideal, but these are still obviously number 2 in rush yards. And again, some of this is because of the opponent. And so we'll see how things continue to shake out. But honestly, I think that shows that this team that seems like, that we knew would need some time to gel and figure things out is starting out like this, I think is a sign of, is a good sign. Now, it's not saying BYU will become a great offense, but it shows to me that there is potential for this offense still to come together and do a lot more.
Sure.
And then Joe Wheat says, last thought, he had quite a few thoughts, I think, on Twitter. I saw many of them, but says there were 4 ranked teams that scored under 30 points versus G5 teams today. Remember how bad everyone felt last year versus SMU? Week 2 is weird. The offense will improve. The defense is incredible. Bear dropped a 41-yard dime. Cougs winning it all. That's, of course, Joe's optimism with the hype train. But, so I agree. I'm not saying I don't think Stanford's going to turn out to be what SMU was last year, but that goes kind of to your point. Like week 2, Kelly, or that Jay Hill was saying, or wait, who'd you say that was saying that they'd seen looks that they hadn't seen?
Oh yeah, that A-Rod and Kalani both said that about Stanford's defense. I mean, they came in totally different from what they had shown before.
So, week 2. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I think we had to know that some of these struggles were going to come. Now with Jake Retzlaff, had he been in this game, do I think we win by more? Probably. But again, it goes back to just give time, bear time to ramp up. So I don't think it's time to start worrying. I think we could be pretty happy with how the team is shaping up so far.
Agreed.
Okay, good. Well, we're all optimistic here, even though it was, as you said, completely unsatisfying. However, not everybody around the Big 12 had it as good as BYU. So we should, again, consider ourselves lucky that we got to come out of Saturday with a win, because not everybody did. So I want to run through our power rankings for this week. I haven't seen yours. You haven't seen mine. And at least for me, my power rankings for me is really based off of what have we seen this season? What is your resume? What does it say that you've done? I'm not saying, so-and-so would, if they're ranked ahead of another team, that it means I think they would win on a neutral field. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they, certain teams, like you could argue BYU, or like a Texas Tech, several teams in the Big 12 have yet to face a very challenging foe. So for that reason,
it's a big caveat.
I might not rank them as high because they haven't had the competition yet. So it's all about resume. What have you done for me so far this season? Having said that, all right, one more thought here from before we jump into that. 1-2 says half of the teams in the Big 12 have lost at least one game already. Same for ACC. Yeah, and
it hasn't been great preseason for the Big 12. It has not.
I'm going to leave this up. Yeah. So before we get into all of it, and we'll talk about the specific teams and the wins and losses as we go through this power ranking. So I don't want to address that yet, but just overall big picture with the Big 12, I would say Big 12 came away from this weekend as a major loser. Even though we still have some teams that look good, we have the team that started the season highest ranked in the polls drop out and lose. And right now, it's really looking like most of our head-to-head matches against Big Ten and SEC have been losses. And the problem is we're not even facing the best of these conferences. We're facing mid to lower tier teams from these conferences. And even when we are winning, they're tight wins. So for me, the Big 12 is basically at this point a one bid team to the championship or to the playoff, unless two teams just go completely undefeated, other than, they meet in the conference championship and it's a close game or something. Maybe then we could see two teams get in. But at this point, I just don't see how the Big 12 can make that argument.
Yeah, I think if you had two teams go undefeated, they'd make it. But we look like a one bid conference right now.
Yep.
We do. I mean, it's very, very frustrating to see a conference who you felt like could compete with in depth, right? We're a deep conference. There's a lot of depth in the Big 12. That's what you hang out there when your top three teams aren't ranked in the top 10. You got to say you're a deep conference. Well, you're not a deep conference, right? You lose to Mississippi State. Really pathetic showing by Arizona State, who was carrying the banner for us this past year. That was super disappointing. Kansas in the border war with Mizzou should have won that game. Came out looking great. I thought Kansas through the first half of that game. I thought Kansas is legitimate. Finally, they're gonna put all this together. They got a super senior quarterback. This is it, and they crumble and fall apart again. Rivalry game on the road, tough environment. I get it, but that's what you got to win. It's not like Mizzou's a barn burner. They're ranked 25th now. They're not going to be ranked 25th for long. They're going to lose this week and they'll drop back down. And that's who you're losing to. So it's really frustrating as a Big 12 fan to watch us struggle like this game after game after game. I think Iowa State's win was good. I just don't think Iowa State's that great. Kansas State's an embarrassment. Boy, it's frustrating.
Yeah. And what worries me is that I still think some of these teams, like let's say a Baylor, who's already lost to an SEC team, but has a loss this season, that Baylor could go on and represent the Big 12 in the playoff. And that's worrying because I do think Baylor has that capability. But when they're going to go back and point to the non-conference schedule and say, well, what did you do for us, Baylor?
And Auburn beats the Big 12 champion. And Auburn's going to finish 6-6. I mean,
right. And so you're going to look at it and be like, okay, that's the best you have. And they just blew through the Big 12. And if that happens, that's problematic for our conference. What we really need right now is for TCU or Texas Tech, BYU, any of these teams. Well, I'm trying to think. Nobody has like a killer. I mean, at least TCU has a head-to-head over UNC, and they looked great. I think UCLA and Stanford are both going to be at the bottom of their conferences, and so I don't know.
And UNC is probably going to be at the bottom of theirs too. I don't think they're going to be that great. But TCU's victory was impressive on the road in a big environment. Right? I mean, there's a handful of teams that are at the top of my power rankings that are carrying the banner right now that are representing. You got 4, maybe 5 that have a shot this year from the Big 12 to really make a statement, and that's frustrating. As a deep conference, you should be sitting here saying, "Oh my goodness, we got 10 or 11 teams that could run the table in the conference." And while that could still be true, right? Kansas State could turn it around. Arizona could be good in theory. They haven't lost yet. I just don't see it. And man, you want more than that from your conference.
Absolutely. So, okay, with that, let's go ahead and jump into it. So at the bottom of my power rankings, number 16 of 16, I have Oklahoma State. Now, there's several teams that are making a case for this bottom spot, but Oklahoma State, we knew it was going to be a big ask going up against a really good Oregon team to go to Autzen Stadium and come out with a victory, especially with your starting quarterback is injured. But you'd like to think that they'd be able to put up some kind of fight. And it wasn't like they looked spectacular in their week 1 gimme win either. And so it was just, I mean, they got beat down the same way BYU beat down Portland State, essentially. And they showed nothing. And so for that, I've got them at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that I've got them at the bottom as well. I worry about Gundy. Gundy is the heart and soul of that program. He may be gone after this or next season, and I don't know where Oklahoma State goes from there. He is Oklahoma State. It's weird to think that he's in this position after all this time.
Wild. Okay, so how about K-State?
That's next, number 15.
Sorry,
You knew it was gonna be K-State next, right? I mean, come on. You lose 2 games. That one is arguably a decent loss in Iowa State. Army is embarrassed, even though I think Army's a good team. Don't lose to Army at home, and then you barely beat, who was it? South Dakota, somebody like that, North Dakota. Somebody that you shouldn't lose to. You needed a last gasp drive to win. K-State is crumbling right now, absolutely crumbling. Could they turn it around? They could. I don't think Avery Johnson's it. I don't. I really don't think Avery Johnson is the answer at quarterback. I didn't think he would coming in to this season. He's never taken that step as a passer to do that, and that's been their Achilles heel.
You know what he should consider doing is making the drive from Manhattan to California on the weekends down to John Beck. That he could consider that. That might help put him over the edge.
I thought you were going to say shampoo modeling on an NIL deal with that. That
talk to Troy Polamalu, because I think he's gotten in. But no, I think I could excuse week 0, cross the ocean, rainy conditions, weird rivalry game, close loss, whatever. Okay, you're struggling to, you're having that hangover game against a quality-ish FCS opponent, but you showed at the end, okay, look, we can do when push comes to shove. But then you got Army the next week, and okay, now we can't mess around anymore. We've had our back against the wall twice. Like, we can't do this again. And to lose, it's just I have no faith in them, and I have at this point, and I have to assume that the morale is in the basement. You really have to wonder. And if this team comes in, and again, I think they have the potential to make some noise in the Big 12. If they do, I think that's problematic for the conference, but they'll really show a lot about where they're at mentally, whether they're able to bounce back from this or not. So anyway, at 14, who do you have?
West Virginia. Rich Rod.
There.
I mean, the wheels came off at Ohio. I didn't think it would be a great season for him. But on top of that, you lose your starting running back. You lose your wide receiver. Announced that those are both gone for the season, by the way, today. So bad things happening for the Mountaineers. But don't lose to Ohio. That's another one. Like, just capped off a bad Big 12 weekend. Don't lose to Ohio. They've got a long way to go.
I was driving into West Virginia and during the game and was able to finally catch a signal in the fourth quarter, and getting West Virginia's very extremely biased announcers. And I mean, they would even say we, so I don't think they're even trying to not be biased. So, but yeah, it was painful just to listen to. I didn't watch it. Didn't want to go back and watch those highlights, but I think that's a fair point. And in fact, you're probably right. At 14, I actually put, and maybe I'm being too harsh, but I put Arizona State. I think they took them a little bit to get going in week 1. You're like, okay, it's week 1. But they had to go into Mississippi State and win this game. Now, they showed a lot. They got down by a lot, but they showed a lot to be able to come back and take the lead. That was really awesome. And then it flashes of Texas, just one play, that really just at the end of the day that just broke them. And it was just crazy how open he was able to get and just a clear line to that touchdown. So I just think in terms of what that game meant for Arizona State coming in as like the favorite or the top of the Big 12 going up against the basement of the SEC. Granted, it was at Mississippi State, but I just think all that meant, and for Arizona State to just look kind of outmatched. And this was my suspicion. I was like, I think losing Scadaboo is detrimental to this team. I didn't think coming into the season it was going to be the same team we saw last year. And right now, I think they've proven that.
Agreed. I have them at 12, not 13, for the same reasons you just described. Losing Scadaboo was one thing. They've had some transition on the defense. There's a regression to the mean discussion, and I know we're trying to say that BYU is going to buck that trend. It's not about regression to the mean, but Arizona went from an awful team to an incredible team in 1 year, and it was a great run last year. but it just, I don't know that the program is established yet. I think they're going to be a force in the Big 12 moving forward. I do. I think that program's on the right track. But I had them at picked seventh in my preseason picks for the conference because I felt like they were going to take a step back. And this unfortunately proved it. I hope they're still a strong team. We need them to be a strong team, but in a Big 12 context, we needed that win. So at 13, I've got Cincy for similar reasons. Disappointed by the loss to Nebraska. Kind of a meh season so far. We'll see how it ends up, but I put them at 13.
Yeah, same with me. I had Cincy. So we were the same. I just flopped ASU and West Virginia. And I probably was being too harsh on ASU because the West Virginia loss was pretty bad. Yeah, we're pretty much in lockstep there. At number 11, I've got Colorado.
Mm.
I they beat Delaware. It wasn't even that impressive, and they should have won that. The Georgia Tech loss isn't like crazy bad because I think they're going to be a pretty decent Georgia Tech team, but it's at home, and I don't know. I just haven't seen anything yet that instills a lot of confidence in me for Colorado. So again, this is based off of 2 games, but that's where I've got them.
Their quarterback controversy is going to be really interesting to watch when you get your third string coming in and dominating over the 2 guys whose names have been all over the news for the last 6 months, and the third stringer comes in and dominates and wins the game for you. That'll be fascinating to watch. I've got Colorado at 10. 11 is Kansas, and that might be a little harsh on Kansas because again, I felt like they looked good in their first couple games against Patsies. Through the first half of Mizzou, I thought, oh boy, this Kansas team's for real this year, and then they lost. So. It's probably admittedly a little low on Kansas, but I've got them at 11.
Yeah, I have Kansas at 9. I think you talked about earlier the rivalry game. I think you can, again, they looked really good in the first couple games. They were very competitive with Missouri. And Missouri, unlike Mississippi State, is middle tier kind of outside chance to win the SEC. So they're not like completely written off, but they're probably still on the bottom half of the SEC. Somewhere in those bottom 8 teams, but it's a rivalry game at the rivals, and I don't know. It was a relatively close game. I mean, they were down for a lot of it, but made it close. And so I don't know. I don't ding them too harshly, but I think 9's a good spot for them. So again, Colorado 11. Then at 10, I have Baylor, and
Whoa.
yeah, maybe it's a little harsh, but because they've played probably the toughest schedule out of anyone in the Big 12 so far.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of this could change when we see more about what Auburn's doing. I'm not going to give you like the AP voters. I'm not going to look back and say, oh, week 1, that was a ranked win when that ranked opponent turned out to be not very good. So a lot of that will be based on, I guess, how Auburn turns out and what Baylor continues to do. I expect to see lots of volatility in my rankings and my power rankings over these first few weeks, especially. So it is kind of harsh on Baylor, but they needed overtime and they needed to come back. I was listening to that game while I was driving, and most of what I was listening to, the stretch that I was able to catch, Baylor was just struggling. And again, I wasn't watching this game live, but listening to it, I just wasn't very impressed with I guess what I could hear, which I know isn't the same, and there's probably a lot of context that I'm missing. But nonetheless, SMU, I'm not sure this is going to be the same SMU team we saw last year. Also, BYU beat SMU last year, and that didn't count for anything. So I don't know why this should be any different. But again, rival at crosstown rival essentially. Not the most intimidating place to play. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more from one of the favorites from the conference going to play SMU.
Yeah, that's fair. I've got them ranked a little higher than that because they pulled it out last second. But I'm more worried about Baylor's defense than anything else. Everyone's talking about how Sawyer Robertson tore it up, and he did. He looked great, but a David Aranda defense that's that bad through the first 2 games, that is not boding well for the future. If they've got to outpass every opponent, they will lose a significant amount of games, and I do think that's what's going to happen to Baylor this year. I've got them higher for now, but I anticipate I'll drop them later on.
Okay.
10 is Colorado for the reasons I mentioned. Number 9 is UCF. Almost losing to Jack State to start the year was a horrible start for them. Had a better game too, but just haven't shown anything yet. I think it's a team that's going to struggle this year in in year one under Scott Frost. Maybe not. Maybe this last game bodes well for them, but we'll see. They're in the middle of the pack there for a reason. Nothing's been really impressive yet.
Again, I have them at 8, so I think again it was that Baylor putting them down below that pushed UCF for me up one more spot. But I just think they came out. Yeah, they struggled a little bit, but they did win. They did win, which not everybody can say they did against lower competition. But also, then they came out and blew the doors off whoever they played, somebody North Carolina A&M or something like that, and which is what they're supposed to do. Now, does it tell us anything? Probably doesn't tell us a whole lot. But the fact that they were able to blow them out does tell us something, that at least there's some level of confidence there that this team has. Again, they could go lose every other game the rest of the season, and that might happen. But I think for right now, they showed, hey, we can come out here and take care of business when we need to. So
yep.
I think that's a fair place, right in the middle.
Right.
So you said you had UCF at 9. I have them at 8. Who do you have at 8?
Houston. For the same reasons. They've come out and you hope there's a better season for Houston. Obviously, they struggled mightily last year. It looks like they might have a better season, maybe. But we'll see if they can get that quarterback play figured out. They just haven't done anything to impress, but they didn't embarrass the conference. They're not Oklahoma State.
They did what they were supposed to. Nothing impressive, which is why I have them at 7. So the only thing keeping ours off of lockstep is that I really dinged Baylor here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why don't we just keep going then? Who do you have at 7?
Arizona. And I anticipate this is a team. So I was really low on Arizona. I think I picked them in the teens to finish the conference. I don't think they've turned that program around. I think they have an advantage with Fafita being a seasoned quarterback. So having a veteran presence there is a huge advantage. But even though I have Arizona at 7 and K-State clear down at 15, I picked K-State to win at Arizona because and that says nothing about K-State. I have zero confidence in that team. I really don't think Arizona is for real. I don't think they have the right coach there. I don't think the program's going in the right direction. I think they'll show their true colors against K-State. But so far, they got a couple victories.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually have Arizona at 5, all the same reason. And I'm with you. I truly do not really believe in this team. But right now, they took care of business, and they beat pretty handily Hawaii, who beat Stanford. So look at transitive properties, whatever, like that. Yeah, I don't buy into all of that. Different teams, different weeks, context, everything. But you do look at that and think, okay, again, taking care of business, and they had slightly more impressive wins than the teams that we had just mentioned. Below them. Indeed. So where I differed though, because I said I had them up at 5, I had BYU at 6, so just below Arizona. I thought that Arizona's combined opponents overall, looking at them, was a little bit more impressive than BYU's to this point.
Fair enough.
And we have a comment here. I was waiting until we got to him. Locker Cycling says our offense kind of stinks. We talked about this when we went into the game already, and we know that there have been some struggles. It's early with a young quarterback, but while it does give you some level of concern, like, okay, maybe this offense is not as far along as we'd hoped they were, but also we knew that it was going to take time to get them together. So I don't think it's reason for panic yet, but definitely worth dinging them a little bit in the power rankings.
So I've got Baylor at number 6. I give them a nod because of their strength of schedule. They start off with a couple tough opponents. Certainly laid an egg against Auburn in game 1. If they had lost game 2, they'd be down with Oklahoma State. But they won. They beat a ranked opponent in the ACC on the road. So that's more than a lot of the conference can say right now. So I got them up at 6.
That's true. I agree with that. I probably have Baylor too low, just like you had. Who did you have? Maybe you had Kansas a little low. Maybe I should have Baylor a little higher, but makes sense. Okay, so who do you have at 5?
Texas Tech. Looking good, beating who they're supposed to beat. Not done anything impressive yet. We talked about this before the season. They're a team of transfers. I don't think it's going to pan out for them this year. Maybe next year can be their year. Certainly not this year. But they beat who they're supposed to beat. And again, more than other teams can say. So based on their potential and who they beat, we'll put them at number 5.
Okay. Fair enough. I have them at 4. Same thing. Again, I have them ahead of BYU. Well, BYU's actually played a P4 opponent, so you could make that argument, put them ahead of Texas Tech. But Texas Tech has looked really, really good and hasn't shown any cracks yet, whereas BYU has. And so I think that's why I had them up ahead of them at 4. But you can make the argument they shouldn't be because their schedule's been so weak. So
fair enough. At 4, I've got Utah. I put them below us because they're Utah.
Fair enough.
We basically played the same teams with the same outcomes. They played a really bad Big Ten team. We played a really bad ACC team. They scored more points. Our defense looks better. I don't know. It's going to be a fun rivalry game.
That's a fair point. The BYU and Utah schedules are essentially the same. I mean, Utah did win away, and so there is that. And they didn't show some of the same cracks. So I'm just being fair. Having said that, I would just leave Utah off the list altogether. But
where do you have Utah? They're apparently above BYU in your book right now.
Yeah, I don't want to say. I'm embarrassed. So I would have. So, so last week when we did it, you weren't able to make it. I had my cousin's husband. He just newest member of the College Huddle. He started his Utah podcast, and he was on. And I actually started with Utah at 1. I think that's where we ended. But after the fact, TCU's game ended, and I moved TCU to number 1 because of just how public that game was, and the momentum and the way they just completely crushed UNC. I thought that was really rewarding TCU for what they'd done in week 1. Having said that, TCU didn't play a game this week, and so it's hard to really move them up. So I've got TCU at 3 for that reason, and Utah moved back ahead of them. But again, you make a good point. BYU and Utah should be, I think, neck and neck, maybe giving a slight edge to Utah there, which why would we do that? And then lastly, that gives me ISU at number 1. But I don't believe in Iowa State. Like, the Kansas State game is looking worse and worse. But again, it's week 0 in Ireland, whatever, rivalry. Week 2, okay, you look pretty good. Not super impressive, but took care of business. Week 3, again, rivalry game. Those things get weird. They usually stay competitive, and they won against I don't even know where I was supposed to shake out in the Big Ten this year, but so we'll see how those look, going forward, but none of those like really screams like this is number 1 of the Big 12. But I think to this point, beating your 2 biggest rivals to start the season, and I don't know. I just think you have got 3 games under your belt, and you've shown and really done the most to this point. So that's why I reward Iowa State there. But how about your top 3?
Fair enough. So I got BYU number 3.
I like that.
Just a step ahead of Utah, because of the defense. That defense is better than anything else any other Big 12 team has put on paper so far. And I know we played patsies. But Stanford was still a team that can run the football, and they couldn't run against us. So that's why I've got BYU number 3. We'll certainly see in the coming weeks if that bears out. Iowa State number 2. I feel the same way about Iowa State. I'm just not sold on them. I'm not. They've left a lot to be desired in those first 3 games, but they're 3-0, and they beat a Big Ten team, and they won rivalry games. I mean, there's a lot of feathers in that cap. So it's hard to disparage ISU. It just doesn't look clean. It doesn't look crisp. They look like they're missing out on their offense isn't clicking completely. Their defense is giving up random big plays. So we'll see. And then TCU number 1. TCU was my preseason number 1 pick to win the conference, and they haven't done anything to dissuade me of that notion. They looked really good against UNC, and then didn't do anything last week. So we'll see. They've got some games coming up, and we'll know who they are.
All right. So, I mean, for the most part, we're pretty similar, but we kind of differed there at the end, although you've got BYU higher. So I like your picks overall better for that reason. But maybe I'll consolidators, whatever, when we put out our graphic. I don't know. I'll have to figure out how we'll combine the two or average it out or something. But all right. So that's our power rankings. We'll see. I expect this. I'm not, and I didn't pull in my week 1 or 2, rankings to look at this, to move up or down. I just put it all away. I looked at the team and started from scratch, and it'll be interesting. Like I said, I expect this to move around a lot over the next few weeks, and then probably around game 5 or 6 from teams, we'll kind of get a sense of who's going to be where, and then it's really just going to be kind of a little bit up and down each week. But for now, I expect wide swings here. So, okay, so let's move into our picks real quick and then finish up for the week. But okay, so looking at the matchups, we have, I guess I should pull up the schedule. I have that in front of me. But we have Colorado at Houston, and we're pretty in lockstep this week, but this is one where we differ. So who you got on this one?
Yeah, I think Colorado's going to pull it out. I do, and that's not so much a vote of confidence in Colorado as a vote of disconfidence in Houston. I don't think Houston's necessarily got it figured out. Colorado finally got moving on offense. They're going to turn. I'm sure they haven't announced this, but I'm sure they'll turn to their third string QB, give them the keys to the kingdom, and say run with it. And I think they'll have enough there to get past Houston. I'm just not convinced Houston's turned things around yet. But these are the types of games where you change people's minds. So maybe this is too much recency bias from last season, but I see Colorado winning this.
Okay. When I first saw these two names playing, initially my gut was telling me Colorado, and I stopped and looked at it and thought, I don't really believe in either one of these teams. But I do like Willie Fritz. I believe in him more as a coach and what he's building. Now, that program, I'm with you, is not there yet. But I do think, being at home, Willie Fritz over Coach Prime, I just think that the Cougs get it done. It should be close, though. I don't have a strong sense of confidence in this either way. Now, the next game, another one you already said, you got K-State over Arizona. These are, again, two teams I don't feel great about. But right now, with what Arizona's shown us versus what K-State has shown us, and it's at Arizona, again, I got to go with the home team.
Arizona certainly looks a lot better. This is me thinking this is Kansas State's last gasp, and I think they have enough in them as a team and enough pride left in them as a team to bounce back, put it together. I think the Army is as much of a wake-up call as you can get in a season. If they lose this, forget it. Season's done. I don't know if they'll make it to a bowl game. And look out for what happens with that program moving forward. I think they've got it in them to get a win in Arizona. I think it's just, you see this early on in the season where somebody will have a bad loss and they'll bounce back and like, oh my goodness, I never expected that. This just feels like they have more talent. They have more cohesive success as a team, and they carried over a lot from last year. They should win this game, but they've been so bad this year. It's hard to have confidence in them.
Yeah. I've got nothing else to add to that. So let's see. We're both picking Baylor over Samford. We're both picking Texas Tech over Oregon State. Poor guys, getting left behind in the Pac-12. They were actually doing pretty well in football before all that happened. They'd had some decent seasons, and now it's just fallen off. So, and then we've got maybe the conference's second or third best rivalry. Oh no, it's not in conference, but it's still one of the best rivalries I think our conference plays in, the Backyard Brawl. Certainly one of the best rivalry names. You've already told us what you think of West Virginia. Both of us, I think, see this going the same way. West Virginia can tell Pitt to eat whatever they want, but they'll be eating it as victory because I think Pitt is winning this game.
Yeah, it's West Virginia's a dumpster fire, unfortunately. And I didn't expect anything different in Rich Rod's first season. I'm not. That's not saying Rich Rod's not going to be successful ultimately. I hope he is. I love his brand of football. I loved his style of football last time. He was, last time he was in the seat there. So I'd love to see him have success in the future. I just don't think it's this season.
Yeah. I hope they do, but it would be amazing if they did. It'd be great for the conference, but I don't see it. I don't think they're there yet. 1-2, taking a step back to that other game, Colorado amateurs at clock management find a way to lose at Houston. K-State bounces back. So
there you go.
Two bold picks. I like it. For K-State's sake, I hope they do, but I don't know. We're going to learn a lot about them, where they're at.
He's right about Colorado State's clock management. That doesn't portend well for their coaching IQ.
No. Okay. So then I'll fly over these. We both have Cincy getting the dub over Northwestern State. I think we feel confident about that one. And then Iowa State, again, we don't love them. Arkansas State has had some decent teams in the years to pass, and Iowa State is going there. Do you see any chance that, we just saw West Virginia fall at Ohio.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. And Iowa State has no business traveling to Arkansas State. They should not be playing. They should not be playing in that stadium. You're a Big 12 team. Act like it. You're trying to contend for the Big 12 title. Act like it. You could say the same thing about BYU going to ECU, which is not quite the same. ECU's a much bigger name, but still, I don't even love BYU traveling to ECU. But if you're Iowa State, don't travel to Arkansas State.
Yeah, I went on the College Huddle podcast, and he said the same thing. He's like, you guys know, BYU knows they don't have to go play these games anymore, right? And I was like, I don't know. They really want to honor, for those agreements they had with teams that helped them out and stuff. And so for me, I love it because I get to go to the game, but strategically, not ideal. Yeah. So both of us have Iowa State winning, but granted, it could be a trap game right there, coming off of a rivalry game. We know how that goes. Yep. Then we've got Utah at Wyoming. I really wanted so badly to pick Wyoming in this one.
If Wyoming had any fight, I would. And I know they've done okay in their first couple games, but you're going to go up there, and through the first quarter and a half, it's going to look competitive. Wyoming's going to get up for this game like this old whack Mountain West rival, and
that last year about BYU.
Yes, it is. It's going to be very similar to that. I mean, BYU trounced Wyoming, and I would love to see a tough game for Utah at some point, because we, just like BYU, we don't really know who Utah is until they play Texas Tech, and so we'll see. But I don't think this is going to be the game that tests Utah.
Okay. So I was waiting until we talked to Utah, because David Welker had quite some comments on on Utah. So he said to put Utah above number 9 before they actually do something in the Big 12 is ludicrous. Are you drinking the KSL Kool-Aid? No, in fact, I don't read or listen to anything from KSL. Easy to do out here on the East Coast. So I stopped listening to the Utah hype train led by Hans Olsen. What drivel? I think Utah's shown, at least, to be fair to Utah, I probably have them too high on my list, but they've shown to be at least in the top half of the conference.
Well, I think to David's point, it says more about the rest of the conference underperforming than what Utah's accomplished, because they haven't done anything, right? And a lot of the conference hasn't done anything. But at least Utah didn't lose to a really bad team like other Big 12 teams have. And so that's kind of why they're up closer to the top half of the conference. Maybe you put them below Arizona or someone, but I don't think Arizona's beat a P4 team yet. So there's been enough there to give a nod to what Utah's done. As a BYU podcast, it's always hard to do that with your rival. But I'll respect what Utah's done. They beat a really bad UCLA team, and they trounced an FCS school. I mean, they have offense again. They haven't had that for like 7 games. And so it's a big deal for that school. But I hear you. Utah hasn't done anything. I think a lot of the rest of the conference hasn't done anything. It's just that the Big 12 has been so bad to start the year. And Utah at least won their games.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's really done anything except for Iowa State, and even then, it's debatable. So
yeah,
it's
been a bad start to the year for the Big 12. Really,
all of our P4 victories have been against pretty bad, teams that'll probably be near the bottom of their conference. You could say SMU, but it took till overtime for Baylor, who's supposed to be at the top of our conference, to get through that game. And so, I'm with you. I think there's a lot of argument, and it's hard, looking at, you're just basically comparing what they've done with their resume to this point. But I'm with you. I don't think they'll necessarily stay there. They have to show more to stay there. And as we get into these next weeks, and some of these other games, teams are going to be able to prove it and pad their resume. He also says Utah played on the road, meaning no crowd, because it's the old Pac-10, and they got Big 12 refs. BYU got ACC Pac refs who single-handedly forced BYU to kick 4 field goals rather than scoring touchdowns. So, I mean, again, I would agree that they've basically played the same schedule, like you said, Adam. So I think that's fair. While we're talking about the Wyoming Utah game, Wyoming's 2-0, only allowed 1 score insofar. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I would love it. I would love for that that newfangled Utah offense to get stuffed in Wyoming. That would be awesome. I don't know that Wyoming's played enough competition for me to trust what they have going on there, but it would be satisfying because we won last year. But as a BYU fan, I can remember many games in Laramie that have been excruciating, and so for others to share that pain, it's a great thing.
Texas Tech a couple years ago, yeah. Right. I would say Big 12, we have to root for everybody to look good and out of conference, because the conference needs all the help it can get. But at this point, I don't think there's any undoing the damage that's been done this season already. Yeah. And so why not root for Wyoming? At this point, it's not going to benefit the conference at all. It's not going to make our win over Utah look really that different. Like, at this point, it is what it is. So I say fair game, root for Wyoming at this point. And then can't say Bear is a step up. Have you seen him give the ball away? Do you hold your breath every time he drops back? A-Rod said he can make every throw Jaron and Zach could. Enough said. Oh, no, I'm with you. I think Bear definitely has a higher ceiling than Jake Retzlaff. Jake Retzlaff was a known quantity or commodity. And I think what you did know about Jake is, like, he was more familiar with the offense, and he went out there with the confidence. And some of those plays, like, he wasn't missing Chase Roberts very often, which Bear's done a little to this point. But yeah, the potential's there, the ceiling's there, and it's true. He hasn't given the ball away. Even getting that hard sack in the back, he held on to that ball. And so
he did. It's to me, it's more of a sample size question. You see the potential, you see the ceiling. It makes you so excited for this season and the future. I love the Bears, the starting quarterback. I love it. But you knew what you had in Jake Retzlaff, and then to David's point, some of that was a heart attack when he dropped back and scramble and throw the ball up or fumbled. I mean, he did. He had a turnover problem. So it's nice that it feels like Bear's not there, but he's clearly not opened up the entire offense to him yet. And you can see them not playing the same style as they did under Retzlaff. It's much more conservative right now. I think by game 5, 6, and 7, they're going to open up and you're going to see what you got. And I think A-Rod's doing this the right way, where he's easing him into it to a certain degree, where you got this stellar defense. He doesn't have to go win the game. But at some point, Bear's going to have to go win a game for us, and we're going to see it unleashed. I think he's got the talent, and I think at that point, we're all going to sit down and say, wow. That was something that Retzlaff couldn't do. It's just Bear hasn't been asked to do that yet. So it's a limited sample size, but yeah, it's ceiling's higher, and I think we're going to see it.
Yeah, and to your point, 1-2 says I only saw 1 risky throw by Bear through 2 games. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've seen more than one. There's the one that probably should have been intercepted, and honestly, as we start playing tougher real defenses, some of those throws that maybe didn't look as risky initially might become turnovers, or harder for Bear to make, or maybe he doesn't take the chance there. We don't know. Again, like you said, small sample size, but I believe in him and what he's putting together, and I think we'll see it definitely round out as we keep going in the season. And then David Welker saying KSL is all all its drivel is available here on the left coast via YouTube. Mitch Harper and Cougar Tracks. That is, I have listened to that a little bit, and Sports Saturday are good. Wouldn't waste my time with the rest of it. Yeah, there's just so much good BYU content out there to find. So I have not really been on KSL much, but
I'll listen to the KSL podcast here or there. I don't listen to a ton of it, but it's fun. I like Hans Olsen's takes. I know he gets a bad rap by some Cougar fans for being too even keeled or not enough of a homer for BYU, but it's interesting. I like the stuff by former players like that because they see the game differently. But I agree. There's some good stuff. I don't listen to a ton of it, but I'll get on an occasional KSL podcast just to see what they're talking about.
All right. And then 1, 2. I don't throw bouncing off players and up for grabs at risky throws. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not counting those either. I'm just trying to think back to Portland State. There were some that were, and maybe they weren't risky. Maybe they just weren't on target. But he seems to. Definitely don't think he's turnover prone. I mean, we saw Jake Retzloff in his first few games, and he wasn't even a true freshman. He was at that point a junior, right?
Yeah.
Or no, I guess because he redshirted that for
redshirt sophomore when he finished the season for BYU.
Yeah. So and for those first few games he did about all he could to keep us from winning at moments. So no, I'm with you. I'm really impressed with Bear so far, but certainly has work to do as we expected. So okay, that was a big detour. We got 2 more picks and we're in lockstep here. I'm really glad that we talked a lot about TCU and their big week 1 win. I'm really glad that they took a bye week to help them prepare for Albion Christian so that they could rest up and take this game seriously. So I think TCU is well rested. They come in prepared and they get it done against.
Gonna be a tough one.
I'm not even sure what their nickname is.
There's some kind of a cat, Abilene Christian.
Yeah, that's what the logo is, but I just don't know which one. Which type of cat? Wildcat. Of course, they're purple Wildcat. There's several of those, so why not?
There you go. There you go.
And then I assume you agree with me.
Indeed.
And then lastly, Texas State, they so far they look like they've really leveled up. They are ready to join the Pac-12.
That offense is legit. They have no defense. It'd be fun if they went in and dropped 40 on Arizona State. It probably won't happen. I think Arizona State comes back with a vengeance. I think I got them picked. But Texas State, I would still put Arizona State on upset watch because Texas State has an offense, and anytime you can drop 40 or 50 points on somebody, look out.
Yeah, I also picked Arizona State, but this is one that they should take seriously and, having a little bit of hangover effect. What do they say? Like, don't let them beat you twice. So they need to come back and rally, and I think they will, but TBD. So, all right. So really our 2 right now in the season, I am +2 over you, which I'm sure will evaporate soon, but we've got 2 games to watch. And I think, are they both Friday night? So we got a fun Friday night in the Big 12.
There you go.
And 2 Big 12 matchups. So hopefully the games go well and don't embarrass the conference, but
right.
And then, but Dillingham is so unlikable.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, I'm not saying I like Arizona State. Like, if I had to, it just sucks for the conference. But the fact that it happened to Arizona State doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
Yeah, I do think he's building something that's going to be good football. But it's the Whittingham effect, and he's been compared a lot to Whittingham. And props to Utah for what they built in a weak Pac-12 conference while they were there. But Whittingham is not a very likable head coach, and it kind of, and the fan base loves it, right? Utah's not a likable fan base, as the Big 12 has found out. And no offense to my Utah brethren out there, my Utah buddies who I love and care for, but the fan base as a whole has not been well liked, and I feel like ASU's following that kind of.
Well, they were also the ones. They were also not very liked coming into the Big 12 at first. They did a little better job of staying in good graces with the conference than Utah, but their administration had some words too. So probably, and they hate each other too, which is funny because nobody else seems to like those two all that much. So anyway, love. It's good to have teams that you love to hate. So I'm glad we were all able to get that off our chest. I do not like Utah, for the record, but again, empowering.
I saw that love going to Utah, man. I saw it.
But let's see. He says, but Witt is tough. KD Is that what we're calling him now? That feels disrespectful to Kevin Durant. Is just freaking annoying. I mean, I love that meme with the red face and stuff. I wanted nothing more than Jake Retzlaff. I mean, besides ruining the season, Kansas kind of did that, but besides like really sealing BYU's fate last year by losing to Arizona State, that errant throw where he missed, who was it? Was it JoJo Phillips? It's just like whoever it was, just went right past, and it was open. Could have been a touchdown. To have just like come back and won after that would have been just so poetic. Would have been amazing, and instead, they got rewarded. Anyway, I have some other choice words, but I'll save those for off screen. So, anyway, perfect. Well, I look forward to this. We got a bye week this week. We do look to have on some ECU guests next week. Trying to figure that out because I will be traveling and on the road, so we'll figure it out and get it on somehow. Hopefully, we will be able to get this live next week as well. If not, we'll certainly, like I said, have the ECU, and then we'll be on live after the next game. Neither one of us is running a marathon or anything like that in the coming weeks. In fact, we'll be at the ECU game, so we may do live from the stands there or what. We'll figure it out. It'll all come together, but be sure to like and subscribe so you can catch all that stuff. And as always, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.